everybody, and welcome to the Battery Mates podcast. That is the Sandman Sean. I am Dirty Dave. Mr. Sean, how are we feeling this week? I know last week you talked you're feeling under the weather with yourself, but you're back 100% now. Am I right?
I'm doing good, man. I am back. I am back, and after the day that the Atlanta Braves have had today, I don't know that I could be any better.
Man, you are not kidding. We have a lot to talk about this week, and we walked into this week thinking this was going to be our. You see, you got to follow us on YouTube. You'd see Mr. Sean right now with his La Bestia shirt on right now. We'll get into all the big news because we had a huge day in Braves country today. Before we get into all that, though, don't forget you got to follow us on all social media. Go on YouTube, give us a subscription. Go on Spotify, give us a download. Go on X/Twitter. See, this week I said X before Twitter just to be politically correct. You have to go on there to see all of our news on there, and give us a follow on Facebook as well. I think it's a like on Facebook. I'm not sure. I don't do social media very often. Oh well. I watch baseball. That's what I do. So I'm good at that. Give us a follow and like everywhere on there. We're fairly active. Sean's way more active than I am. You'll talk to Sean a lot. Sean's like a very social butterfly on there, and I'm just like, I'm here. But we appreciate Sean doing that. And keep a lookout because we're gonna have a little fun segment at the end of this show that we're gonna go on social media, ask for your guys' opinions on. We're having a little bit of a competition, I think. See who's gonna have a better draft between the two of us. So stay tuned to the end of the show to hear for that. Give us a follow everywhere there. Anything you want to hear about moving forward, Q&A, opinions, etc. Shoot us a message, shoot us a comment, shoot us whatever it might be. Let's talk Braves baseball, baby. It's the off season. We thought it was going to be boring. We thought walking into this week, like we were sitting there a couple days ago, like, what are we going to talk about? I wanted to, full disclosure, we were so bored. I was like, Warren Buffett bought 0.37% ownership in the Braves. We should talk about that. That's the only news I can find. And then Thursday, November 16th happens, and we have a lot of news today. Let's start off with the biggest story. We talked about your La Bestia shirt. Ronald Acuña Jr., he is the unanimous MVP of the National League. 31st plate votes out of 30 voters. Sean, I don't think we're surprised, but are you surprised that he got unanimous, or what were your initial thoughts?
Well, so initially I kind of thought, he's going to get that low to mid 20s in terms of first place votes. And really that was more so because you had so many people trying to make the case for Mookie Betts towards the end of the year. You just had so many writers. You had so many people on all the major networks that were like, this is a race that's closer than everybody says it is. And just because of 40-70, Acuña's not going to run away with it. And you had all of Braves Twitter that was like, if Acuña doesn't win this unanimously, we riot, And so you had these two polarizing things on social media that you saw. And so you just kind of thought that, like, okay, there's going to be some one-off writer out there somewhere that's going to say that Mookie playing second base offset Acuña's 40-70. Like, you just knew that somebody out there was going to do that. So I think in the back of my mind, I just thought, okay, we're going to lose a couple of votes to Mookie. But once it came out, it really was like, okay, it was never close. It was never close. And, I've got some stuff here. I want to hear your thoughts before I dive into all the analytics and the numbers and all of that. But, what about you? Were you surprised at the unanimous side of things? Were you surprised at, did you think it was going to not be unanimous? Kind of where were your thoughts at going into today, knowing the MVP announcement was going to come?
I fully did not think it was going to be unanimous, and it was just because of war. I thought there was going to be at least one voter. It's so funny because the Baseball Writers Association of America, the BBWAA, they are like, At the same time, they are so old school and traditionalist, but they're so overly new school and cutting edge that the same group of people that will be like, no, I'm not going to vote for this guy for the Hall of Fame because, damn it, I don't think that we should have any unanimous Hall of Famers in the Hall of Fame, is the same group of people that's like, no, I know this guy had a higher average, more home runs, more RBIs, more stolen bases, more this, more that, more this, more this. But this guy was 0.2 points higher in WAR, so I'm going to vote for this guy. And they're just a finicky group, to say the least. So I definitely thought, at the very least, there was going to be one voter who was going to be the one to say, no, I know that everyone else is voting for Acuña. I'm going to vote for Betts. Or one 27-year-old punk who is going to say, no, the analytics, we need to vote for the guy with the highest WAR every year. And to see that didn't happen was a good moment, because I think that's the right move. But I was genuinely shocked. I definitely thought that Mookie was going to get a few first place votes. But in the end, logic wins this time around. And Ronald Acuña is unanimous, 30 first place votes. Mookie got 30 second place votes. And Matt Olson finishes in fourth, just behind Freddie Freeman, a former friend of the show. So, definitely good voting here for Atlanta Braves fans. And I am so happy and ecstatic as a nerd to hear everything you have to say about this.
Oh yeah. So I mentioned this before we got on the air, and so when you really stop and you break down, obviously what Acuna did with 40-70, finishing with his 41 home runs, 73 stolen bases, like obviously like that's huge. It's never been done before. Nothing close to it has ever been done before. So a lot of people made the MVP race about, well, is it 40-70 versus Mookie's WAR and kind of his defensive flexibility and the things that he could do that way and the value that it brought to the Dodgers, blah, blah, blah. So that's what a lot of the focus was on. But when I dug into this, really looking into it, getting ready for the show, I realized that if Shohei was just a hitter, Acuna walks away, he would walk away with both MVPs and it wouldn't be particularly close. So Acuna, second place in the National League in batting average, 337. Okay, 337, especially in today's game of baseball, is a crazy batting average. Okay, that's a crazy batting average for anybody, but that's 337 from a guy that hit 41 home runs. Okay, so 337. He led not the National League, the major leagues in OBP at 416. Dude got on base 41% of the time, almost 42% of the time. Acuna was getting on base. Absolutely insane from a leadoff hitter that hit 41 home runs. Okay, a 596 slugging, led the National League with a 1.012 OPS, 106 RBIs, led the major leagues, not just the National League, major leagues in runs with 149, led the major leagues in total bases with 383, led the major leagues in hits with 217, and obviously led the major leagues with 73 stolen bases. And he had an 8.2 WAR. So the dude's season, yes, 41 and 73 and the 40-70 and all of those things were incredible. But the dude just had a season like if he hits 38 and steals 55 bases, this is still just an astronomically good season. So I love that the voters got it right. I love that there wasn't this one guy that was like, I'm just not going to let this be a unanimous decision. Like, I'm an MMA fan for those of you guys that don't know, and it seems like you always have that judge that's like, I'm gonna see it differently for the sake of seeing it differently. Right. And it's like I was really glad to see that it didn't happen that way. And really, Acuna, he did everything you could ask for, to become the fifth Braves to win the National League MVP.
Yeah, and it's such a small list. I mean, 5 guys. It seems like with the history of the team, it's been an up and down history, but you think, especially if you think of how good those 90s teams were, you only had one from that team. Of course, Dale Murphy wins 2, but back to back, by the way. Put that guy in the Hall of Fame. This Braves podcast stands Dale Murphy to get to the Hall of Fame, by the way. Baseball Writers Association of America. Yeah,
Murphy in the Hall.
Murphy in the Hall.
5 MVPs for the Braves, and he's got 2 of them. Okay, like that dude needs to be in the Hall of Fame. So
Make it happen.
anyway,
Make it
not to
happen.
interrupt. He's got to be in. We've got to get him in there. But yes, no, I agree 100%. It's just it was refreshing, and honestly, realistically, even all 4 MVPs, when you look at them, or the 2 MVPs and the 2 Cy Youngs. Sorry, when you look at them, the 3 races that should have been unanimous were unanimous. And so, realistically, the AL MVP was not close.
Right.
There really wasn't any way that you couldn't give it to Shohei, despite him missing the end of the season. This AL Cy Young was not close. Okay, Garrett Cole was the AL Cy Young. It wasn't. There's no debate. Acuña, NL MVP, no debate. Okay, so those 3 they got right. We won't discuss the fact that Strider wasn't a finalist for the NL Cy Young, but hang on, Dave. I'm going to make you eat a little bit of crow, so just get ready for it. Do you remember way back at the beginning, one of our first couple of episodes, when you asked me about the Cy Young and who I thought it was going to be, and I mentioned somebody, and you said there's no way that he should be in that conversation. Not only was he a finalist, he got 3rd place in it. So just tell the fans out there, just be like, you know what? The Sandman, he got that one right.
I'm going to say that the voters got it wrong, and therefore you still got it wrong. What was that voting in the National League side? Can we talk about that? I mean, it was a 3-man race. And then when you talk about judges wanting to see things differently just for the sake of seeing things differently, the top 3 should have been in order. The guy who won, who I can't think of his name right now, is Blake Snell. I don't know why I drew a blank on Blake Snell's name. Then Spencer Strider, and then Justin Steele. And the last 2 guys weren't even top 3. What is happening? Baseball Writers Association of America, get your you-know-what together. Crazy talk. But, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. We knew Strider wasn't going to win, so, whatever. What's the difference between 2nd and 4th? There's really no difference. You don't get a trophy for 2nd place. That goes for life, kids. Don't keep those participation trophies. Anyways, I don't want to sound like a boomer.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And in all seriousness, it is funny. We had a guy that wasn't a finalist taking 2nd place votes. Like,
crazy.
Strider gets the second place votes, and he's not one of the finalists. And so you just kind of like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you know what? We can't get all 4 right. And any of these, if we mess these other 3 up, like, it's going to be an atrocity and it's going to be madness. Like, we can be weird on the NL Cy Young and still get it right with Blake Snell. Like, that was really kind of what it felt like, and being humorous about it, that's kind of what it was. But to go back to Acuña, it was such a dominant season. And the crazy thing is he's 25, age 25 season. Okay. And he's missed a season with an ACL. He's missed parts of 2 seasons with a torn ACL.
Oh, yeah.
COVID shortened 2020. And you're just like, where would this dude be at with not missing the ACL and having a full COVID season? You're like, then you start talking about, like, this dude is going to catch all-time numbers. Like, when you really think about it. And I'm not saying that he can't now, but I'm saying you just take out that, that year and a half that he missed between those 3 seasons, and you're like, this dude at age 25, I would dare to say he's better than Mike Trout at 25. Some of these guys that have been the best player in baseball, you say, look, you can get one guy to start your franchise around at the age 25. Who are you taking? It's got to be Ronald Acuña Jr.
You want to put your name on that, Sean? You would say Ronald Acuña, age 25, better than Mike Trout, age 25.
Oh, absolutely. You made me pick one guy in their prime, one guy at the age 25 to start your franchise around. It's got to be Acuña. It's got to be Acuña. And so the things that he does on the bases and the things that he does, he's not a great fielder. No, I'm not going to claim that he's some Gold Glove right fielder. Okay, but the dude's got a cannon. The dude has an absolute cannon. Okay, and he that makes up, he uses that as like, this is my safety net. This is my, I'm not going to get to some of these balls I should get to, but you better not tag up from third base if I'm inside of about 300 feet from home plate. Like, he's one of those guys in right field. And then the combination of speed and power and hitting for, in the 330s, his first full healthy season, like, I just think when you look at the whole of the start of their career to the age of 25, I think when you look at everything Acuña's went through for him to be what he has been at 25, I think you've got to say, okay, he's the best player in baseball not named Shohei Ohtani.
I think I'll agree with that for sure. I'll put my name next to that one with you. The better than Trout at 25. I'd have to do a little research. Maybe next week I'll come on the show and I'll back you up on that one. Until then, I remain silent. I'm not here. So Ronald Acuña wins MVP, but that's not the only big Braves news today. The other major thing is that the 2025 MLB All-Star Game, which of course then means the Home Run Derby and the Celebrity Softball Game, which of course is the one thing that I usually watch most of. That's coming to Atlanta after 2021. It was given to the Braves. It was given to Atlanta in Truist Field, I should say. And then it was taken away due to non-baseball reasons. Whether you agree or not with the game being taken away is important. It didn't happen in Atlanta. They're giving it back. They're bringing it back in 2025. Sean, do you have your ticket yet? What are we? What's our flight time? Are we going to be on our way? What's going on here?
Man, I'm glad to see that Truist Park and the Battery are going to get the All-Star Game. It's such a unique baseball atmosphere at the Battery, with everything going on at the Battery, and then the field being right there. It's just such a unique thing, and really, I think it's probably the design of the future in regards to the way that most baseball fields, stadiums, and kind of the surrounding areas are going to be shaped moving forward. And so, the Braves fans are incredible. They're going to have an amazing turnout down there. The atmosphere is great. All of the food and everything. You and I went down there, caught a game down there. The food is great. The atmosphere is great. You've got a little bit of everything for everybody in the Battery itself, even just being outside the stadium, being able to be in the Battery and you watch on the big screen. You got things like the Omni Hotel that's down there that overlooks the field. It's going to be such an amazing atmosphere. And so, it sucked, like you said. Whether or not you agree with the why and whatever is really irrelevant. It didn't happen. Braves kind of got the last laugh with winning the World Series and making, that being the thing that happened that year. And so now we get the World Series in 2025. I'm stoked. And maybe if we get big enough, we'll go down there and cover that thing in person.
Yeah, there you go. It's a good plan. We'll be on our way for sure. It's super exciting. You always want to have the All-Star Game there. The players love it. The players love being able to play an All-Star Game in front of their hometown fans, and there's not a shortage of Braves that are going to be projected to be All-Stars in 2025. It's only 2 years away. You got to watch
on YouTube this year.
If you watch on YouTube, you saw that it was 8. That's how many it was. And if you're not watching on YouTube, what are you doing? Go over to YouTube and give us a follow. Come on, guys. But yeah, so there's 8 this year. I mean, 8 guys getting a standing ovation and cheers from the hometown crowd. You'll get one of the Braves in the home run derby. Olsen or Acuña or Albies or whatever it might be. We'll talk a little bit about some off-season plans that the Braves may have coming up this year. Maybe one of us will name a guy who ends up being a home run derby participant in the future. Who knows? But we are, I'm sure the players are happy. Management's happy because it brings eyes on the Braves. Ownership's happy because it's going to make them a whole lot of money, which is money that you could then spend on more players. It's not like they need more players, but you can spend it on players now. It's all positives. And like you mentioned, that atmosphere is something that more people need to come out and see. And there's people who travel the country to go see the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby. I'm in a few Facebook groups that are designed on like chasing ballparks and going to every ball, all 30 stadiums. And there's people that specifically just go out of their way to go to All-Star games. Those people will be able to experience Atlanta for the first time now. If it's their first time. And so I'm really excited about it. I heard a couple weeks ago that Wrigley Field was the favorite to win it. And so I kind of expected to hear that news, but then all of a sudden you hear that's not the case. It's going to be in Atlanta. Philly's got it in 2026, so it's going to stay in the NL East for 2 straight years. And that just gives us something else that Atlanta can do better than Philadelphia. We're going to beat them in the playoffs in 24. We're going to host a better All-Star game, beat them in the playoffs in 25. The run of dominance starts right now, and it includes the extra shenanigans that don't have anything to do with building a team or playing a game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so I agree. We had an exceptional time. I try to make it to Truist at least once a year. And make the drive down. We went down there, heck of a game. Braves won, ran away with it, and so it was definitely a good time. And so I'm excited for the Braves. I'm excited for the team, for the management, for the fans. It's just going to be a good thing, But that would have been an exceptional day in Braves news in and of itself. Those two things, but we have more in that. A while back, the Braves High A affiliate, the Rome Braves, came out and said that they were going to rebrand. They were going to change that name up. They wanted their own identity, which for me, even as a Braves fan, I love it. I love all of the crazy and wacky and neat minor league team names and all of those things. So the Rome A, the High A affiliate of the Braves, Rome, has renamed their team, and instead of the Rome Braves, they are now the Rome Emperors. What do you think about the Rome Emperors, Dave?
It's so good. It's such a good rebranding. It is perfect. It's fun. It's everything you want from a minor league baseball team. Their logo is going to be a penguin with Roman garb around it. They have a couple other signs for Rome and Roman Coliseum and stuff like that. But it's a phenomenal logo. It's a phenomenal play on words. It's really, I said it, I know I already said it just a second ago, but it's everything you want from a minor league baseball team. You don't want a major league team that's called the Rocket City Trash Pandas, but damn it, when you go to a minor league ballpark, you want to see a team like that. You want to see the Rome Emperors with penguins walking around the stadium, and there better be penguins. Rome, I'm talking directly to whoever's in charge of marketing. If I go down to Rome to watch a High A game, I better see a live penguin and I better be able to pet it, okay? This is phenomenal. It's fun. It's great. I love it. I'm going to be buying a hat soon, so this old All-Star Game hat that I have will soon be a Rome Emperor's hat. I could put my word on that one. I might even see next paycheck what's available, if anything's available. So you might, by the next episode, see me in one of those hats. I'm all for it, though. I don't know if anybody's as high as I am, but Sean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Hopefully, it's not going to be the opposite, and we're going to have to argue about it.
No. So I'm with you, man. I just think, like you said, the Rocket City Trash Pandas. I think about the Jumbo Shrimp and just some of those, those just fun minor league names, and it makes it so easy to go out and support your minor league teams and your minor league players when it has that own identity, when it really has its own, can take on that shape of its own. And I get it. It's being as close as Rome is to Atlanta and all of the things that kind of play into that. I get why it was the Braves and why they kept that, but I really think it's just going to do wonders. I think for the Rome community and the Braves minor league, just system as a whole, because they were the only team that was, it just, I don't know, it just felt like that was something that is going to be a breath of fresh air. And so I'm all for it. I think it's great. I'm definitely, I definitely want to look and see, catch the next prospect that's coming up and get one of their Rome Emperors jerseys.
Well, lucky for you, Sean, is that I do a prospect of the week every single week, and I'll be talking about a guy who spent the year in high A this year. So you'll have to stay tuned to hear about that. But three really good bits of news for the Braves today. That really brings us to what was going to be our the start of our show, was that they did also make a small transaction this week, and that feels so small right now because it's just like a back of the bullpen move, but a move that I think that you mentioned on social media that you really like, in adding Penn Murphy to the bullpen and releasing or DFAing Yanni Chirinos. Penn Murphy coming to the Braves. One of the best pitches in all of baseball is a Penn Murphy slider. And so we get another specialist in the bullpen. Oh, you're giving
It's
me.
a sweeper.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You kids in your newfangled pitches. I still like to call the curveball the old Charlie. I'm a traditionalist. So so the sweeper. It's one of the greatest pitches in baseball. It's nearly unhittable. Sean, you like the move, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think I mentioned this on social media, but this gives all the vibes of that move that AA seems to make every offseason, where he finds a guy that he picks up like this, that all of a sudden becomes a staple in the bullpen for the next year or two. And so this really kind of feels like this is a guy that could come up in place of somebody like Colin McHugh, Brad Hand, Kirby Yates, somebody that can come up, has good stuff. Again, his fastball, like I mentioned on social media, tops out about 88. And no, that doesn't sound good on paper. It's got the fastball has life on it outside of the velo. But when you pair the fastball with the life that it has with that sweeper, it becomes a very, very good combination for a guy to come out of the bullpen. And if I've got Penn Murphy throwing that sweeper out in the sixth inning, following 5 innings from Smith Shawver or Elder or Vines or something like that, like there are way worse things and way worse guys we could be trotting out there for that inning. And so I think it's good. The other reason why it's good is I hope that this means I don't ever have to see Yanni Chirinos throw a meaningful inning in Atlanta ever again. Okay, I understand he was one of those guys. AA goes out, he tries to find a guy. Yanni ate some innings last year. I get it. He's had decent stuff at various points in his career. I get all of that. But when you're the Braves and you're in the window that they're in, there's zero reason why Yanni Chirinos should be your fifth starter. So I hope that both of those things make me grade this as like your A plus move, to really kick off the offseason, as far as bringing an outside talent into Atlanta.
Yeah. And it lends perfectly into kind of the next point we had, because I agree. I mean, Yanni Chirinos not being a part of the Braves anymore, I don't think there's going to be many tears shed by the Braves Nation about that. He filled a hole for a little bit here. And, we talked about Pablo Sandoval last week and all the great things he did, where he had, a week where he was the greatest player on earth for the Braves, and then he just sat on the end of the bench and was a panda. And so Yanni Chirinos, yes, he had a role. He filled it for like a week, and then we're good without him anymore. I read an article that I'm not going to bash, because I don't think you wanted me to bash, because I hated this article and you were like, it's not that bad. But I read an article from Sports Illustrated, actually. And it was an article it was by Lindsey Crosby, and it was, what does going all in mean for the Braves? And I just thought it was a complete nothing burger of an article, because the three moves that she said they should make were trade for Juan Soto, trade for Corbin Burns, and sign Shohei Ohtani. Which, like, the Athletics idea of going all in is getting those three guys too. What are we talking about here? Obviously, going and getting three MVP / Cy Young caliber players is going all in. I don't think we needed anybody to say that. It also doesn't feel at all realistic. So, Sean, I wanted to discuss what going all in 2024. Obviously, this is the window. They're going all in, but what are some maybe higher end moves you thought the Braves could make to really go all in on 2024 that actually might happen or could make sense, unlike that article?
Well, I think the first thing that you have to understand when you look at the Braves and you say going all in, okay, these Braves are built to win for a very, very long time.
Yes.
Okay. So the sort of going all in that article mentions, and again, it wasn't that I didn't like that I liked the article. It was that I understood that the person that wrote the article put right off the bat, this is totally for fun. This isn't something I realistically think is going to happen. So, like, I give him a little bit of a pass on that. So that was why I wasn't quite as hard on it. But it talked about mortgaging the little bit of the farm system that the Braves do have. It mentioned a 2-year, like $60 million per year deal for Shohei, and it's like Shohei's not signing a 2-year deal. So there were a lot of moving parts of that was just like, this is absurd, really. But for me, it has to start with when you think about everybody that's under control and how long they're under control. So Sean Murphy, contract runs through 28 with a team option in 29. Matt Olson, contract runs through 29 with a team option for 2030. Ozzy Albies, contract runs through 25 with team options in 26 and 27. Riley's contract runs through 32 with a 2033 team option. Arcia has through 25 with a 26 team option. Michael Harris through 30 with 31 and 32 team options. Acuña is under contract through 26 with 27 and 28 team options. Ozuna, this is his last year, but there is a 25 team option. Strider through 28 with a 29 team option. So you look at that, okay, I just listed every offensive position besides left field, and the earliest that we're going to lose anybody without having a choice in it is going into 2026. So when you look at the offensive side of the ball, you have to say, okay, anything that doesn't coincide with having to re-sign Ozzy Albies, Ronald Acuña Jr., you look at those moves. That's the move you look at. And I think that's kind of the case for the pitching staff also. But so for me, we've seen some stuff coming out from Braves camp and from Alex Anthopoulos about Vaughn Grissom saying, look, I'll play anywhere. I just want to stay in the majors. I just want to be in the majors. And the dude did everything he could offensively in AAA. So I think that we're going to see Vaughn Grissom in left field for the Braves to start. But I do think AA still goes and calls in on guys like Adam Duvall, Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, Tyson Pham, some of those guys though in there. So for left field, because really the Braves have two holes. They have left field and then they have starting pitching. So that's my move for left field. You either say, okay, we're going to save $9 million by running Vaughn Grissom out there, and we're going to take the growing pains that come with that and hope that the offense is going to overcome some of those things. Or you go out and you get one of those veteran guys that you're going to sign Duvall a 1-year deal, Soler, Jock, 2 to 3, maybe 4 years. Still somebody that's going to come off the books before you're going to have to re-sign Albies for 28. So that's what I think on the offensive side of the ball. In the pitching and the rotation, Morton's only under contract for 24. Fried is only under contract for 24. He'll be a free agent after this year. Soroka, same thing. That's if they even tender Soroka. So that's a whole nother discussion. Wright, Anderson, and Huascar Noah are all under ARB controlled through 26, free agents in 27, and then Elder is ARB controlled through 28, free agent in 29. So I think you kind of see the same thing there, and you say we can't sign a pitcher that's going to interfere with re-signing Acuña or Albies. I think that's kind of the way that you have to do it. So I think you look at my two that I think are probably most likely is probably going to be Sonny Gray or Aaron Nola. And you're going to look at probably a 3 to 4 year deal for those two guys. And you're going to get one of them to pencil in as that number, 1 A, B, C starter with Fried and Strider. And then you have Morton and then Elder, Smith-Shawver, whoever kind of wins that fifth spot. So I don't think it's going to be this huge flurry of moves for the Braves this offseason. I think it's going to be one starting pitcher, maybe a left fielder, and then you're kind of going to see some things as far as, do we re-sign Nicky Lopez at his $4 million ARB number? Do we have some of those, do we kind of go back after a Kevin Pillar type guy that's going to be able to, he's going to be a gamer. He's going to come in. It doesn't matter if he hasn't played in, 10 days. He's going to come out and give up competitive at-bats and play well in the field. and kind of just fill the back end of the bullpen up. But you've got Raisel Iglesias, Pierce Johnson, Joe Jimenez, AJ Minter. Tyler Matzik is going to be back relatively soon in the season as far as coming off of Tommy John. So you've got your main bullpen pieces kind of there anyway. So I don't necessarily think that you're going to see a big money spend in the bullpen unless it's a 1 year prove it type deal, or maybe a short 2 to 3 year deal. But I really think it's going to be Vaughn Grissom in the left, and we're going to get one of those big starters to kind of shore up that rotation going into 24.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see that. I think the Braves could be a little bit more aggressive than that in the offseason if they want to. And I lined up 4 moves actually altogether that I think they need to, I would like them to consider. So I totally agree with the outfield. I like the idea of Vaughn Grissom, but I don't want the growing pains. So to me, going all in on the offense would be doing 2 things. Number one, you fill that left fielder's hole with a 1 year deal for a veteran contact hitter with a great approach who's had a lot of success in the playoffs in the past. All those things. I want all those things, and there's a free agent available that does all those things, and that's Michael Brantley. I would love for the Braves to bring in Michael Brantley. I think he fits in perfectly. And how much in the past few weeks, Sean, have we talked about we want a different approach come playoff time? We want guys to get on base, long at bats, draw walks in the playoffs. He's the kind of guy who can do exactly that. I would really like for them to add somebody like that. The other thing on offense is I want them to be proactive on replacing Marcell Ozuna. And because I don't think they're bringing Marcell Ozuna back. And there's a guy on a team that is rebuilding that has said that they want to get rid of pieces that's going to need young pitching. And the Braves have so many young pitchers to trade away right now. The guy I would like for them to go after to play DH and not do what his current team does, which is try to make him play the outfield for some reason, even though he's the worst fielder I've ever seen in my entire life. Even if it means you move on from Marcell Ozuna a year early to make this happen so you don't lose this opportunity, I think you trade 1 or 2 of those prospect pitchers for Eloy Jimenez from the White Sox. I like bringing another righty bat with a lot of power. They need to get rid of him. He has no luck in Chicago. He's constantly injured. He has to play the field because they don't have anybody else to play the field. They are selling. They want pitchers. The Braves have so many pitchers. We'll talk about during my prospect how deep we had to look in the system to find a position player. I mean, we talk about all these pitchers. Let's use one of them to get another home run bat that can replace Marcell Ozuna, because if Eloy Jimenez takes off, he's still young enough to where he could still continue getting better. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, people would have thought he'd be an MVP candidate. So can you catch lightning in a bottle with him like you did with Soler, like you did with Jock Peterson, like you did with Duvall a few years ago? If so, I think it's worth it. On the pitching side, I think 1 starter and I want another reliever, and I'll explain why I want a reliever, because I know what you're saying. They're deep, but if we're going all in, I think this move makes sense. So for my starter, I think you add 1 more lefty. Fried's done after this year, potentially. They might bring him back. They might not. But when you talk about all these young arms they have that could fill that 5th rotation spot, they're all right-handers. Bring in a lefty. There's 2 guys I'm looking at. I'm looking at either Jordan Montgomery or K-Rod, Eduardo Rodriguez. Both have had playoff success. Jordan Montgomery was so good for the Rangers last year. But if you want to spend the position, I've heard Sonny Gray and Aaron Nola a lot for the Braves as like their one big move. Why not make it the lefty Jordan Montgomery, who you know is going to pitch well in the playoffs? K-Rod had a great 2017 playoff run. He was so good last year for Detroit. He's a guy who could fit right in with all these guys on this team, and he's got a swagger about him for sure. I think he'd fit right in with that bullpen, with that swagger that the lineup has. And the last move I have, Tyler Matzek's coming back from Tommy John surgery, and you hope that Tyler Matzek is what he was before, for sure. He might not be. It's Tommy John surgery. I know Tommy John surgery isn't what it used to be, but it's still Tommy John surgery. AJ Minter's another lefty, but I would really like to get 1 more lefty out of the bullpen. And there's one guy who, for some reason, is like not projected to get a huge contract this offseason. He's a lefty bullpen guy. He's been one of the best closers in baseball recently. And if Josh Hader's available, guys, why not go get Josh Hader? If you get to the playoffs and you are facing the Phillies again and you have 2 outs in the 8th inning and Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper's up to bat, you're not going to want to hope that Yanni Chirinos is going to pitch to one of those guys. You're not going to be like, oh my God, we have to throw Brad Hand out here, who's obviously not coming back, but like that's your only lefty option. Oh my goodness. Or if you pitch Tyler Matzik in the 6th inning and then you have that situation come up and you're like, well, it's AJ Minter, no matter how he's looked so far. Why not get yourself a guy who can go out there and make it happen? And Braves country is going to think a little lower of Hader than most other fan bases will, because Hader has a moment where he gave up a series clinching home run in Atlanta to Freddie Freeman. But he's been really good in the playoffs. He's been the best reliever in baseball over the last 3 years, and the Padres are just letting him go. And it's kind of like, nobody knows where he's going to go or if he's going to sign a short or long-term deal or anything. So going all in, I think those moves get you in a really good position, a much better position you felt going into the playoffs this year, despite how good the regular season was.
Yeah, I think honestly my only question mark with somebody like Hader, and out of all of your stuff, that's going to be the only thing that I have the question mark about, because I too think the Braves move on from Marcell Ozuna after this year. I think this is probably his last year. The roller coaster that we've had with Marcell Ozuna, he was weeks away from being released this year. So, we were about to eat all of that money because of how bad Ozuna was playing. So I agree with you there. A guy like Eloy would fit great there. I get that. The thing with Hader is he going to go to a team where he knows he's not the closer? Is he going to want to sign with a team where he's like, I may not even be the guaranteed setup man? Because you don't pay Raisel Iglesias $16 million to set games up. And so I think that's probably the question mark for me. And again, like you said, going all in, maybe that's what going all in means. And you had that thing as far as, with Kenley Jansen, and when we brought him in, and it was like, hey, whatever we've got to do, it's all about the team. When we brought Raisel in, when we brought Raisel in when we had Kenley, Raisel came over, and Kim, both of them were kind of fine with that and that dynamic and what was going to happen there. And we knew Kenley was the guy, and Raisel was going to pitch the 8th, and we knew that, and everybody was good with it. You have to wonder, is Hader going to do that? And if Hader's going to do that, then if you can get him for 1, 2, 3 years, then by all means, I'm all for that. But I don't know that you go out and get him if that's not the way that it is up front. If you don't go with Hader and say, look, Raisel's our guy, you may pitch the 7th, you may pitch the 8th. Obviously you had that little kerfuffle with Hader refusing to go out in the 8th inning, in one of the last Padres games of the year, and not wanting to do multiple innings. And so you just kind of wonder where's Hader's head at in relation to that. Does he prioritize winning? Does he say, look, I would rather go pitch the 7th inning for the Braves than pitch the 9th inning for the Pirates, or the 9th inning for the Royals, or for the Reds, or for somebody whose window is more of like, we've got to really play our tails off to get to the playoffs and hope we get hot, versus a team in Atlanta that's kind of like, hey, we're built to go win everything for the next 5 years.
No, very fair. I mean, I think that, based on what I've seen from the Braves in the past, with guys like you were saying with Raisel Iglesias, and when they made the trade for Jimenez a few years ago, I feel like there's an organization that could do that. But ultimately, again, it comes down to what the player wants. Josh may, I know Josh Hader's listening right now, and he might laugh at us. He might laugh at me, I should say, and be like, Sean Sandman, you're a smart guy, because I would never go do that for the Braves. This Dirty Dave guy, he's got no idea what he's talking about. But who knows, right? I just think when I go all in, I would like one more lefty in the bullpen, just in case Matic doesn't come back. Maybe that's not Hader. Maybe there's another lefty that you can go out and either trade for or sign in free agency. But I just thought, since we're here talking about going all in, I might as well go for the big fish, right? So
And no, I'm with you. I do see, and I see what you mean, because even when you look at the pitchers that we have in the minor leagues, even the starters, if you're like, hey, look, we're looking for people to pitch a couple innings in relief here or there, outside of Schuster and Dodd, they're all righties anyway. You've got Smith Shaver, you've got Vines, you've got Winans. And so you really do have a very right-handed, heavy pitching staff. And so I could see the Braves getting a lefty, and I would love for it to be Josh Hader based on his ability, but he's got to come in with the right mindset, because this isn't really a team that does the whole ego thing. You don't see that with the Braves. And so I definitely think that you're probably onto something. Is it Josh Hader? Okay, I guess we'll kind of see what AA's got up his sleeve, but maybe that extra All-Star game money might bump him and sign in an extra guy here or there.
Let's I know we got a couple more pieces, and we don't want to have our shows be 2 hours long. So I'm gonna run through my prospect of the week, and then you can run through your bet of the week, and we can jump into our draft. You cool with that, Sean? All right, let me talk.
Absolutely, let's roll.
I'm gonna talk about my Dirty Dave's prospect of the week, which is Ignacio Alvarez. He is the top position player prospect in the Braves system. He's just coming off a full season with High A Rome. As mentioned earlier, they're now the Emperors, so he might be an Emperor in 2024. He's the 9th ranked prospect in the system according to MLB.com. Again, that is the top position player. I know they brought up Michael Harris maybe a little early, and he's done well. Vaughn Grissom's right there, and he's on the next level. He's going to be MLB guy next year. But shocking to think that there's nobody higher than 9th in the system, especially when you hear who Ignacio Alvarez is, because his profile really isn't one that makes you go, wow. MLB.com kind of set everything up to he's kind of, just fine. But he is somebody who I'm looking out for sure, because I like my contact guys to have a good approach, and he is a contact guy. He's got a good glove at short, third, or second. I think he might end up at second base. Maybe eventually could be somebody to take over for Ozzy Albies. He has a .395 on base percentage last year in Rome. He gets on base. He's, like I said, decent glove, not a great arm, which is why a lot of people think he'll play second base. He's projected for a 2025 debut according to MLB. But he could be a guy who could just provide something different. A guy you could throw into the 8-hole in the lineup, 9-hole in the lineup, behind all these power bats. And he's the guy who's on base when Acuña hits a home run from the leadoff spot. If you get a guy who could have a 360 plus on base percentage in the 7 or 8 hole, you're going to have a lineup that has no holes in it. You can never get to okay, we got the 6, 7, 8 guys coming up. We're getting a little bit of a break. It's no. That 6 guy can hit home runs. That 8 guy is going to get on base a lot. So he's somebody who could fit in as just a different piece for the Atlanta Braves in the future, maybe starting 25 or 26. And that is Ignacio Alvarez. Any thoughts on Ignacio Alvarez, Sean? I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything on him.
Yeah, I think if anything, you're going to see that guy. He's going to be that Nicky Perez type guy. And so, I think that's just kind of, not Perez, sorry, Nicky Lopez. Had Perez in my head for whatever reason. Nicky Lopez, he's going to be that guy that, he plays 3 infield positions. He has a good glove. He's got a good contact bat. In his 2 total major league or minor league seasons, 406 OBP, and then he had 16 stolen bases last year. So a little bit of speed, good contact, a guy that can kind of plug and play. Albies needs a day off. Arcia, or if Vaughn's at shortstop in the coming years, they need a day off. Even Riley, something happens, he pulls a hammy, got to throw somebody in there for a game or 2. I think you're going to see that. So it is crazy that you've got to go to number 9 to get a position player in the Braves farm system, and it's a position player like him. But that just speaks to, the Braves are very much in that win now window, and they're willing to trade their prospects when they need to trade their prospects. and they're building their pitching through their farm system. So definitely not necessarily a bad thing, but you wouldn't want to be the Pirates and have your first position player be the ninth prospect and it be Mr.
Yeah, for
Alvarez.
sure. But that's the prospect of the week. I'm going to hand over to you now. You have your sleeper pick of the week, Mr. Sandman.
Yep. So usually I try to keep the Falcons in it, keep it Atlanta based. Atlanta's on their bye week this week. So my bet of the week, 4-leg parlay again. I got the Texans over the Cardinals. I've got the Lions over the Bears. I'm going to take the Dolphins Raiders over. It's at 46.5. I think that's going to be a shootout. And then I like the Jags and Titans to actually go under the under is 40 there. So I'm going to take that 4-pick parlay, $10 wins $65. So you about plus 650 odds. Again, this is not betting advice. This is not financial advice. This is none of that.
Problem, call the hotline.
This is for fun. This is exactly. So there is a hotline out there for that. If you have problems with that, not to make light of gambling problems, but not gambling advice, not betting advice. But those are the ones that I like this week.
I hope people don't think we're making fun of people with an actual problem with like gambling. I'm like, seriously, call the hotline. If you have a problem, call the hotline. We're definitely not mocking it. I hope nobody thinks that. No, call the hotline if you have a problem. Please, get help with that. There's people that'll help you with it. But yeah, that's a good bet. As mentioned, not gambling advice. I just want to say it for a 6th, 7th time since we're talking about it. Not gambling advice. But if I make $65 this week and you don't, you'll know why. That's all I'm saying. So let's go into our fun little activity we had to end the show today. We are going to do a draft. It's our first draft on our show, and we are picking our favorite Atlanta Braves jerseys, uniforms, and we are going to pick 4 each. The Braves have a really good uniform history, and I am a uniform nerd. I collect jerseys. I'm on jersey groups on Facebook of just logos and jerseys and uniforms and all that good stuff. So I thought this would be a fun way to jump out and do a little fun activity. Sean, I will concede to you. Do you want the first pick, or do you want the back end of the snake and go 2-3? Because you might get 2 really good ones there. I don't know. I don't mind either one, but I'll let you pick.
I'm gonna kick off. I'm gonna kick it to you. You can take the first pick. I'll take 2-3, and we'll rock and roll from there.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start off with probably one of the more beloved uniforms in the history of the Braves. I'm going with the 70s script Atlanta white uniforms, the jersey that Hank Aaron set the all-time home run record in. That script Braves is beautiful. It looks half patriotic, and it's got the royal blue instead of the navy, which I really like. I like the lowercase a that's on the helmet and the hat. It's a great part of baseball history. And every time you see the highlight of Hank Aaron hitting 715, my first thought is, man, he looks good in that uniform. It looks like that's a nice uniform he's wearing right there. So I think that's got to be the number one pick in a uniform draft in Braves history. So I will take that and be happy with it.
All right. So number 2, I am going to take the 80-86 powder blues.
Wow.
The away jerseys. When I think of Dale Murphy, I think of the powder blues. And so we talked about it. This podcast stands for Dale Murphy. Dale Murphy needs to be in the Hall of Fame. So with my second pick, my first overall pick, second pick total, I am going to take the 80-86, those powder blue away jerseys. I think they're sweet. And it's just one of those things. It's almost like the color rush of the NFL type deal, because it's none of the colors really match what the Braves typically wear, but it's just such a sweet looking uniform. So I'm taking that as my first pick, the second overall. For nostalgia's sake, for myself, this is me personally. This is probably that pick that people are going to make. That's a reach as far as jerseys go. I'm going that late 80s to early 2000s gray away jersey that the Atlanta Braves wear. Because when I think about watching the Braves on TV, when I was a kid in the 90s, when I really started watching the Braves, they're on TBS. Those are the jerseys I think of when I think of guys like Andrew Jones, Chipper Jones, Javi Lopez, Rafael Furcal, the big three, Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, John Rocker, those guys. Like, those are the guys that I think of, and that's in that era. That's the jersey that I think of. So I'm going to take that late 80s to early 2000s gray Braves that befits those 90s to early 2000s Braves that won all those division titles.
John Rocker reference on the Battery Mates podcast. I know silently the fans have been clamoring for it. You gave it to him, Sean. Thank you, John Rocker. In this economy, guys, wow. I love that. Good picks. Definitely didn't think those were the picks here. I didn't have either of those two on my board this high, but I definitely respect them. That powder blue, I think it's very I think that'll be a controversial pick, but I think a lot of people are going to really love that going that high. So I'm a fan of that for sure. I'm going to take two really quick. I'm going to go with the current day red jersey with the white pants. I love the red Braves look. I think every MLB team needs an alternate jersey. I'm looking at you, Yankees. I'm looking at you, Steinbrenner family. Every team needs some sort of jersey to go to once a week, once a month, once a year, something. That red they wear, it just pops. I love it. And for my next pick, I'm specifically going with the Milwaukee throwbacks, the white home uniforms, the one with the block M on the hat, and specifically with that really really dark tomahawk across the front that almost looks like it almost looks faded because it's so dark. You think of like Eddie Matthews wearing it, and the start of the career for Henry Aaron. I love the M as well. Nothing beats the A, but that M is a sweet hat, I think. So I'm taking those two to go second, third round, and I'll lend to you for your last two.
All right. So I will say that when I said that I thought people might think they were reaches, it was because those Friday Night Reds were actually listed at number 2, but I was hoping they would sneak by you. But you picked up the current Friday Night Reds. So I'm going to go with, for my last two, you took the home jersey of this one. So I'm going to take the away, the blue 70s Hank Aaron, because for whatever reason, when I see the 70s version, it makes me think of, that's what I think of as the inspiration for the City Connects that the Braves have now. And I really like that. The lower, like you mentioned, the lowercase a, I'm a sucker for the away jerseys typically. So that's going to be my third pick. And my fourth pick might come out of left field, but this is just me being a baseball fan. I'm taking their current all whites, the white tops with the white bottoms. That's just a baseball look. When you think of baseball, you think of the white jerseys. And now I think of Acuña stealing second, shaking the belts out, his whole front of his body covered in dirt. So I've got to take the current all whites, white top, white bottoms for my last
That's
pick.
A really good pick. You actually sniped that one from me. So that was a very good pick. I'm also going to throw a pick that I know people are probably not going to like, because it's going to be the navy blue jerseys, but not their current ones, the ones from like 10 years ago that had it was the navy blue jersey with like the navy blue Braves with the white outline, not red like they currently have, and the blue tomahawk as well with like the red outline. If you're on YouTube, you're seeing you're trying.
It's not going to read it. It's not going to read it. I had 08 to 11 Navy as
I'm
one of my
going with
picks. That was one of them. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
The red on the current navy pops a lot, but I thought there was something so nice about how subdued it was that it kind of all just meshed together and worked really well with the bright white pants and the all blue, the blue hat as well. So that was my last pick. I'm happy I'm not crazy for liking that one more than their current one. I love their current one, but this was mine. So what we're gonna do is I'll probably I might commission out a quick graphic from a buddy of mine, or I might make it myself, and we'll put them online and go vote. Go onto Twitter or X, whichever you prefer. If you want to, go don't not that guy. No, me. Vote for mine. Vote for whoever you like better, and let us know which one you like better. And let us know what you want to hear about next time. The off season is going to be long. If there's anything you want to see us draft or hear our opinions on, or any specific things you want us to discuss on the show here, let us know on social media. We're on Twitter/X. We're on Facebook. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Give us a like. Give us a follow wherever you can. But I think that's going to do it for the 6th episode of the Battery Mates podcast. Mr. Sandman Sean, anything else you'd like to say about our fun day today before we head on out of here?
Nope. I think the only two things that I've got to say is, number one, put Dale Murphy in the Hall of Fame. And number two, La Bestia, boys, you're too small for him. Congrats to Ronald Acuña Jr. on one heck of an MVP
next year it's
caliber
gonna be
season.
the World Series MVP. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it then for this week's episode of the Battery Mates podcast. That is the Sandman Sean. I am Dirty Dave, and we will catch y'all on the next one.